Bread aisle, are you ready to rock? Dave's Killer Bread is the country's #1 organic bread for a reason. Always delivering killer taste, killer texture, and killer nutrition. This isn't bread. This is bread amplified.
This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is the show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love. And again, like I always like to say at the beginning of my shows, I'm here to help you understand your dreams. So if you've got a dream that's got you stumped, email me at debbie@dreampowerradio.com. I'll help you understand your dream, answer any questions you may have about dreams, and who knows, you may even be a special guest on one of my future shows. If you've been listening to these podcasts, you may know that several weeks ago, we did a show all about dreams, and I did have one of our listeners on the program talking about her dream. So email me your dream at debbie@dreampowerradio.com. There's an old Chinese saying, some say it's a curse, may you live in interesting times. Well, I, for one, certainly believe we're living in interesting times and very curious to know what's going to happen next. My guest today can't actually predict the future, but she can give us insights into what patterns lie ahead for us. Barbara Schiffman is an expert at reading the Akashic Records, which are the dimension of consciousness where all aspects of your soul's journey through lifetimes, past, present, and future, are vibrationally recorded. As an advanced Akashic healing practitioner, Barbara teaches workshops, does private readings, and is the author of the book, The Akashic Muse. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Barbara.
Thank you, Debbie. It's great to be here with you.
For those who may not know much about the Akashic Records, can you explain what they are and why they're important?
I'll do my best. The words Akashic Records come from the Sanskrit word, Hindu Sanskrit word, Akasha, which means primary essence, the primary essence of the universe. And the Akashic Records are the vibrational dimension, as you mentioned, where everything humans are thinking, seeing, doing, feeling, saying gets vibrationally recorded. It's like a big digital video conference recorder, kind of like we're experiencing now. And having the way to record everything allows the patterns of the universe, as they're expressed and played out through us in our lives, to be shaped, to be healed, to be evolved, one person at a time, all of us together that are alive on this planet all at the same time, through our life stories, through our experiences, through our actions, through our thoughts, through our interactions. And it's like the soul dimension is the other way I like to talk about it, kind of as a shorthand, is the vibrational dimension of our souls. And our souls are expressing through us in our lives. Mine's talking to you right now. Yours is talking to me through our bodies and our physical dimensions. And those souls are evolving. One other analogy I'll throw in, and then we can continue, is it's like the cosmic cloud. You know, we have cloud computing where we can put everything in the cloud and then it stays there. It's kind of like that, but at the vibrational highest soul level dimension.
Okay, well, that gets me to the next question of how do you access all of this knowledge?
Over humanity's centuries, people have accessed that dimension through through meditation, mostly people who were considered priests or priestesses or healers or medicine people seem to be the ones credited with being able to do that. Over the last century or so, the way humanity is evolving has allowed more of us who have come into life on this planet to be interested in being able to do that directly for ourselves, not having to go through someone else. And meditation, shamanic rituals is one way people say they access what they feel are the Akashic records. The method I use is a vibrational prayer, and it kind of focuses me. It puts me in that groove where I'm tuning out all the static of my external daily life and tuning in to that inner voice that is always talking to me. And I understand and experience the soul, the Akashic records, as another fancy label for them, and we can talk about how that label came to be if you wish, through my thoughts during the day, through my dreams at night. This is where dreams are part of that communication process between the bigger dimensions that we can't see, that dream, imagination, soul dimensions, and our human selves, and then also through the synchronicities in my life. So I use a vibrational prayer to kind of tune in better and listen better. And the prayer I used was developed by a woman named Linda Howe, who's my teacher and mentor. And I find her process is a good key for me to that cosmic library.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about dreams because, for me, dreams are our connection with our soul, and our
yes.
subconscious. So does that mean that, are we tapping into the Akashic records when we have dreams?
I believe so. And I've read other people who have been writing about working with the Akashic records over the past 10 years. That's when Linda Howe's book, How to Read the Akashic Records, came out about 10 years ago. And actually, about 10 years ago, I think it was 2008. And when I found it in 2009, and more people have been writing about that ever since, including physicists who talk about the unified field, the Akashic dimension is how they often talk about it. Ervin Laszlo is one of the physicists, scientific philosophers who writes about the Akashic records as a field of consciousness and energy. And they talk about that as a place where we can tune into it better now that humanity's not so concerned with our everyday survival needs. We're moving more into the consciousness evolution arena and phase of our human maturity. And dreams are one way we can receive from the records in metaphors, in pictures, in that right brain, not so logical, linear, like our thoughts talking to us fashion. And sometimes we, as in dream work, have the challenge of helping get a sense of what the metaphors in our dreams are about instead of it being literal predictions. So that dream work that more people are doing ties in very much with tuning into that dimension of consciousness. It's where our memories are, where our imagination is. And I don't know anybody who can hold that in their hand. It's intangible, invisible, but we all tune into it.
So you say that there are ways of tapping into this, whether it's dreams or meditation or just synchronicities, like you said, or just listening to the thoughts in our heads. If we are just, finding our way, trying to get into, this great lore of knowledge and wisdom, how can we tell what parts of it, actually relate to us versus, since there's so many things that happen not everything that's happened in the entire universe can apply to us. How do we know what does apply to us?
Well, let's see. There are a couple of ways I could answer that. One is that we are all connected. I like to think of us as humans, as expressions of that big one soul dimension, and we're like different stories in the mind of God, so to speak. That's one way I like to talk about it. And we're each experiencing the world, experiencing life on Earth, experiencing interacting in a human dimension. From our point of view, we're like organic cameras and recording devices. And we're receiving and sending at the same time. We're sending everything we're seeing, and we're receiving. And more people are looking to different methods to tune in and tune out all the chaos and static around them through meditation and other methods. As I mentioned, the method I use for tuning into the records is the pathway prayer process that was developed by my teacher, Linda Howe. It uses a vibrational prayer. Prayers have been common throughout the centuries to tune in, to be able to ask for health and help, as my husband, who teaches Native American spirituality, frames all of the prayers that he makes. They're all about health and help for us and our loved ones and everyone on the planet. And we can also tune into the records and ask questions. Sometimes we can ask questions on a more global scale, sometimes just for ourselves. I do that every year. At the beginning of the year, I tune into the Akashic Records of that year to get a sense not of a prediction, but a theme that's been evolving, and each year kind of leads to the next, which has been very fascinating since I started doing this.
You already have tuned in for what's going to be happening with us this year. So can you tell us more about that?
Well, for the theme we're working on, how it plays out, what happens, can go lots of different ways. But the theme to keep in mind while things are unfolding, I got this year's insight on, which is a progression from last year. And I also got information for myself by saying, what should I keep in mind for me and my family and my students and my loved ones? And I got more specific information. So sometimes it's that inner dialogue between your human self, I think of that with a little s, and then the soul self with the capital S. And our dreams are that other way that our soul talks to us. At night, our souls can talk to us in a more metaphoric image kind of fashion. During the day, our thoughts are talking to us. And finding whatever method is useful to discern which is your human self talking to you, that critical self, that worried self, that hopeful self, and which is that higher wisdom that's always talking to us. It's like a radio station for those who listen to the radio, or a podcast station, and tuning into the sound more clearly, tuning out the static, because it's always broadcasting. But sometimes we need to tune in better. And at night, we're able to tune in through our dreams. We don't have the distractions of our eyes open and all the things happening around us. During the day, we have a lot of that, so we receive differently.
So what did you find out about where we are this year?
Okay, I think of it kind of as a receiving. I'm a receiver in that way. I'll start with going back to last year's theme, because this year's is a progression of that. And when I do that, I don't open my personal Akashic records. I open the records of the year. So last year it was the year 2018. This year it's the year 2019. And last year's theme had 3 parts, which for me were extremely helpful with all the things I went through. But I saw it being helpful in the bigger picture of life, and I saw the words that came through reflected all over the place in advertising, in what politicians were saying, and what teachers were saying, all over the place. So to me, sometimes the words of the Akashic theme start showing up in our zeitgeist for that year, and I find that fascinating. So 2018, the theme to keep in mind to move through the year was to stay centered, to be optimistic, and to do whatever is presented with love. And I found that to be really helpful during the year, because I got thrown off center a lot of changes going on in my life, which at the time were somewhat busy and chaotic, and now they're evolving into their next phase and things are getting a bit calmer. And I had to stay centered and be optimistic and to come from a place of love and to respond to what was presented with love. That was very helpful. So this year, given what's happening in our world and our politics and our country and all of those things, I asked the records last week what the theme for this year would be. And I was a little nervous, as I usually am, thinking, oh no, doom and gloom. And they said this year the theme is to stay the course. And I found that really interesting. I posted because I just typed down on my computer what I get as I hear it. I'm the transcriber. And I put it on my meetup. I have a meetup called Akashic LA that people can access through meetup.com. And I put the highlights in the message board, the discussion board there, exactly as I got it from the records. And stay the course is to trust that we're on a path that's been evolving for a long time. It escalated a bit in 2012 when everybody was all concerned about the December 2012 shifts that have continued to ripple and evolve. And it started long before that, according to the records. And that we need to not get diverted and distracted and to trust that what we're doing and where we're going and the things that are coming into our lives and the things we're being called to put our attention on are part of our path. A lot of people worry if they're on the right path. And I've come to believe through working with the records and other things that we're always on the right path, even when we don't think we are. There can be detours, but they're all part of the path. And it's unfolding as it can through each of us and each of us together in interesting ways. And how it unfolds is not always predictable. But the energy of the unfolding is what's important. So if we can all stay the course this year, individually, politically, globally, in our communities, in our groups, with the things that we've already started that feel right to us, that are part of our path and part of what is where we've been putting our attention or where we'd like to put our attention, that we will get to the next part of this together a little more easily than if we resist it. Because resistance and judgment and fear are the things that get in the way.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, because how do you reconcile the idea of just staying the course and just keeping on where you are with all the craziness that's going on in the world, between wars and political nonsense and terrorism, all that stuff? How do you just stay calm in the midst of all of that?
It's all part of the story. It's like in one of the ways I learned about dreams, I learned from a wonderful woman named Jenny Davidow, who I took a course from many years ago, and her method of working with dreams was very powerful for me. And she taught me to have dialogues with images in my dreams. And we talked about nightmares and how in nightmares that big monster is chasing you and it's scary and you're running. And if you turn around and say, okay, what do you want me to know? It shrinks down into a teddy bear and it kind of says, okay, great. Now that I've got your attention, I can give you the message. And I know you talk about this, and many people who do dream work have similar ways of talking about this, but it's getting our attention, because the good, the bad, and the ugly is all part of the story. I come from a background of being a Hollywood script consultant, working with writers, developing stories for TV and film. And you always have to have challenges to work through. That's what helps the mechanics of the universe evolve. We don't evolve at the soul level or the collective level as far or as deeply when things are easy. We wish we could. We all want that. But when there's something to be challenging, then we evolve more. I like to use the analogy of how a pearl gets made in an oyster. You have to have the sand in the oyster to rub against the inside and irritate that beautiful iridescent part of the pearl inside the shell for the pearl to get made. And the longer it irritates, the bigger the pearl. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean it's fun or easy or not challenging, but through going through the challengings, evolution happens, one person at a time, even when it seems like we're not. And that's where all our inner guidance, our dreams, our meditations, working with the records, whatever people do, can help them stay centered so they can put up with that sand in the oyster to get the pearl as it's evolving through them.
Yeah, and I think that makes so much sense because, like I like to say about nightmares, we can, if we listen to our nightmares and actually, look for the guidance that we get through them, we learn so much more from them than we do from, happy dreams. We can really make, incredible changes in our lives, by listening to, the messages that we're getting from that. With that, I'm going to take a short break here. So we're talking with Master of the Akashic Records, Barbara Schiffman, on Dream Power Radio. We'll be right back.
What could be more dreamy than a cruise to the mysterious and exotic Cuba? Join me in June for a luxurious 8-night trip on Royal Caribbean's Empress of the Seas. We'll taste the cuisine in Havana, dance to the music in the enchanting cities of Cienfuegos and Santiago de Cuba, and much more. For more information and to sign up for this unforgettable trip, email me at debbie@dreampowerradio.com.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, and welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach, and we're speaking with Barbara Schiffman about the Akashic Records. Barbara, you said about, when you were talking about 2018 and what you learned from there, you said there were a lot of words that came up that made a lot of sense based on what you heard. So do you have any words that could become watchwords for 2019?
Well, the theme for 2019 being Stay the Course, I'm going to be watching for that one in advertising. It's interesting how in previous years, including 2018, I started seeing some of the words I would get as the Akashic theme for the year through advertising. Last year, the word optimistic came up a lot, and that was one of the words that was part of the year's theme, and being centered. And so this year, stay the course, whatever that means. I know it's a nautical term about even if the winds are blowing, keeping the sail steady so you can stay on the path and not get diverted off into the middle of the ocean, that kind of thing. And it's really staying the course no matter what the diversions are. And as many of us notice, there are lots of diversions. I've had some personally in my life. We've just made a big move. I've gone from sunny LA to currently snowy Pacific Northwest. And staying the course, having chosen to make this change, is part of the process for me. So that's one to watch for in advertising and in things politicians might say, or things you might find yourself saying to friends when they're saying, I'm thinking of changing everything, and all of these you might, find yourself saying to them, well, what would happen if you stayed the course? I found myself doing that with words from the Akashic themes over the years.
I'm struck by how this is not too dissimilar from something I heard from a guest I had on another podcast I did recently. It was an astrologer who had said that, that for her, 2018 was, a time of, to really learn and, a lot of things were going on, a lot of things and a lot of changes and to be aware of. And that 2019 was the year to kind of sit back and learn everything from what happened in the past year and, to be aware of that, take those lessons into this year and follow through. And it sounds like that's another way of saying stay the course, be on the path that you have set for yourself and just be true to it and not get distracted by all the other craziness that's going on around you. I mean, that's the message I get from that. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I've heard this from a few other people. One of my students, in fact, opened the Akashic Records, and I teach tarot, and she had taken my tarot class, and she looked at what you would look at as the tarot theme for the year, and she got a similar message. The Hanged Man, if you're familiar with tarot as an archetypal imagery tool, is the one that came up for 2019 when you add the numbers together. And that's the similar kind of theme of pause, be where you are, look at things through different eyes, look at things from upside down is how I like to think of the Hanged Man as an image. And again, looking at things from here we are, let's not think we're in the wrong place. Let's look at what's right and why we're here and what we can do with this and where we're going, because we can't see where we're going till we get there.
One of the things that you had written was you said that when we access the Akashic Records, we can begin to experience an increased sense of peace and well-being. Can you expand on this and explain what you mean by that?
Absolutely. My husband, he and I are celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary in about 10 days.
Well, congratulations.
He says I'm much more peaceful. Thank you. I'm much more peaceful since I've been working with the Akashic Records, even though over all these years I've, dabbled in, learned about, taught, for those things that are relevant for me to teach, many different spiritual, metaphysical, personal growth, soul evolution tools. And I'm much calmer and more peaceful since working with the records. Because when I tune into the records, it feels like getting as I think of it, a chiropractic alignment with your soul, with that place where everything is whole, complete, and good. Those are the words my teacher Linda Howe uses, and I have not found better words to describe it. Everything is whole, complete, and good. Even with all the messy stuff, even with all the things we don't like, that doesn't mean they shouldn't be there. They're part of the whole. But we're okay no matter what. And if we can do whatever it takes to get that sense of being okay no matter what, that's where for me staying the course is helpful. I'm okay no matter what. Then that peacefulness ripples and infuses everything around me, because if everything is energy and connected, if I can be peaceful, even at those moments where I get thrown off balance, if I can bring myself back to center, then that helps me in my life and everybody I touch, and we're all connected. And we're all connected in our dreams. I love to think of the dream dimension, going back to that with your show, of a place we're all connected. We all sleep at different times, but we all tune in to our dreams, whether we remember them or not.
Yeah, well, I guess it all gets down to energy, because we're all energetic beings. And, if you see energy as being totally connected, we are all one. So that makes perfect sense to me. I want to ask you just the basic question of who ever discovered the Akashic Records? Who realized that this whole, I'd have to say invisible, but, invisible body of wisdom is out there?
Well, I like to think of it as a vibrational, and it's like air. We can't hold air. It's invisible, but it has a huge impact on our ability to live. When we stop breathing, our life ends. When we start breathing, we start our life with our first breath. So it's like that. And Edgar Cayce is the one who's most usually credited with popularizing the term Akashic Records. When he was asked where he was getting his information, his medical intuitive past life information is kind of what he got in the early 1900s when he was working under hypnosis to help diagnose medical and other issues for people. He said he was getting it from the Akashic Records.
If somebody wants to learn how to do this, how can people find out about you?
Well, there's a couple of things. I would recommend anyone who's curious about the Akashic Records, the book that's the one that's the most relevant for me, I didn't write it, is my teacher Linda Howe's book, How to Read the Akashic Records. She's written several other books that are applications of working in the records, but How to Read the Akashic Records is always the best place to start. I do one-on-one sessions with people, which I can do by phone or Skype or Zoom on the web. And we can tune into your records together and help get more of that guidance for you and whatever's going on in life that you would like guidance on. I also have a couple of books online, The Akashic Muse, which is about using the Akashic Records as your creativity partner, and also a coloring journal called Your Akashic Records, where you can tune into your life from a soul point of view that's very fun.
Thank you so much, Barbara, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I always love talking with you, Debbie, and I love the work you're doing. Please stay the course this year. We'll be watching.
Oh, thank you. I certainly will. And maybe next time we'll talk about the coloring journals. That
would be great.
Yes, we've been talking with Akashic Records expert Barbara Schiffman. I'm Debbie Spector-Weissman. I hope you have enjoyed today's program, and I hope you tune in next time. And until then, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.
You have a lot to focus on every day. Let Virginia Premier focus on your health coverage. Our health plan is only focused on Virginia, so we can connect you with quality health care and local resources. Our added benefits give you more value on top of your medical and drug coverage from Virginia Medicaid. See our benefits at virginiapremier.com/Medicaid and have your whole family with the same health plan. Virginia Premier, focused on Virginia, focused on you.